Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
This is a big deal. I think it's going to be a big deal. What
will the news media try and play it down? Is it going to be,
That will be the question. These flight logs come out, and I assume they're only flight logs. Maybe there's going to be more. Who knows? But it is going to be interesting to see how the media takes this and tries to protect their people. I mean, one of the names at the top of the list we all know is Slick Willie, Big Willie, Bill Clinton. Everybody knows he's been on that plane. Everybody knows he's been to Epstein Island.
Dozens of times.
Yeah. Dozens of times.
And, we know, I mean, I don't think it's just going to be the left or Democrats. I think we're going to be looking at both parties.
Absolutely.
Having participated. And then that's the conundrum for the news media. It's like, how do you downplay it and defend at the same time? You're bringing it up while you're trying to, to keep it down.
Well, and it's not just going to be politicians. It's going to be famous people, business people, prominent names that are just kind of generally known in pop culture. You even mentioned a couple other names that you had heard rumored musicians.
Yeah, I heard Pink and Gwen Stefani, but they might have just, like I said, they might have just been on the plane and had no idea what was going on.
I mean, I wonder, did he have sort of two islands? He had one with the wink and the nod that, like you could be going to Epstein Island and just enjoy the beaches and all that, but not know what's going on. I mean, I wonder if there were two beaches.
If it were me, if I'm not saying that, but if Epstein did it, he probably had different events. Like he had like certain events, like flying this weekend, and there's nothing going on, but then during the other times,
yes,
yeah, Tony, you can't when you're talking about the Epstein deal. You can't go with a. If it were me,
well, you gotta think like a globalist to learn what they do.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's possible, and that's the pitch that's going to be used for everybody that's on that list. They're going to say, well, yeah, I went, but I had no idea what was going on there. I didn't see any of that. And that may be true. I mean, it would be easy for him to pull that off and say, hey, we're not going to bring girls down this weekend. We're going to shove them in a closet until so-and-so leaves.
Yeah.
And then, he's probably got his list of people like Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton and Bill Gates or whoever.
I'll tell you what, I would bet that the people that only went once would probably be the ones that didn't know what they were getting into. But if you see them go multiple times, then that's probably your key.
That's a good indication.
Yeah, we know what you were doing there, buddy. We know. So Bill Clinton, according to this story here, is expected to be named as Doe 36 in more than 50 redacted filings.
Wow.
Doe number 36.
Slick Willie.
Doe 36.
Give me a cigar.
And because of these reports, I think ABC News, or who was it? Former President Clinton, who ABC News has learned is identified as Doe 36, is mentioned in more than 50 of the redacted filings, according to court records. Several of those sealed or redacted entities are focused for an effort by lawyers in mid-2016, first reported by ABC News, to subpoena the two-term Democrat presidential president for deposition testimony, blah, 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 blah. Per the Examiner, Clinton's office did not issue a new response to the documents unsealing and directed the Washington Examiner back to a 2019 statement regarding his relationship with Epstein from Clinton spokesman Angel Urena. Here's what that statement in 2019 said. It's interesting because they're not putting out a new statement. They're saying, now go back to that statement we put out 5 years ago and just go with that. The 2019 statement says Clinton's office also says President Clinton knows nothing about the terrible crimes Jeffrey Epstein pleaded guilty to in Florida some years ago, or those with which he has been recently charged with in New York. In 2002 and 2003, President Clinton took a total of 4 trips on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane, 1 to Europe, 1 to Asia, and 2 to Africa, which included stops in connection with the work of the Clinton Foundation. That was the, and it goes on to say, staff supporters of the foundation and his Secret Service detail traveled on every leg of the trip. He had 1 meeting with Epstein in his Harlem office in 2002, and around the same time made 1 brief visit to Epstein's New York apartment with a staff member and his security detail.
Slick Willie.
You're telling me he can't lose the detail? I
ain't never been on that plane. Not one time.
Oh, jeez.
I got my booty in my office.
Well, I mean, and everybody's got to admit he has such a stained reputation and a penchant
No
for
pun
lying.
intended.
Yes. But I mean, he's known as being a liar. So I think people are just gonna assume. I mean, he's a punchline, really. At this point.
He is. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Here's what's going to be fascinating, and God bless Tucker Carlson. God bless this man, and almost. I do miss Tucker Carlson on Fox News and having that security blanket of 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. every night.
Mm-hmm.
You knew you could flip that on, or you could watch. I would always watch it on the backside, like on recording. Mm-hmm. But you always had that there, and that show was always going to be a home run every time. You knew, even if he had a couple of boring interviews in there, you always knew there was going to be great content.
Yes.
And I hate that he's no longer there, but it's probably been the best thing to happen to him personally. He now has the Tucker Carlson Network, where he posts some exclusive videos on, or soon-to-be exclusive videos, on a subscription-based $9 a month, okay? And he's been posting most of them on Twitter, but according to Tucker, he sent out this tweet yesterday. He said, the U.S. government claims Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in a federal detention facility in Manhattan 4.5 years ago, just before his trial. If that's true, why are there so few records available from that night? Here's Mark Epstein trying to get a copy of one of the most basic documents of all, the pre-hospital care report, written by the EMS team that moved his brother's body out of the cell. We'll be interviewing Mark Epstein soon.
Oh, man.
Tucker Carlson is going to interview Mark Epstein. I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know Jeffrey Epstein had a brother.
I didn't even know either.
Yeah, that's weird.
Wow.
And so his brother, for whatever reason, seems like he wants answers to this too, and maybe it was an estranged brother, and so that's why he's willing to talk with Tucker, because he knows how the rest of the world feels. And if you're Jeffrey Epstein's brother, you probably would want to just go ahead and publicly come out against the guy.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, like, hey, we weren't hanging out. Like, I didn't like the guy. He wasn't a good brother.
Man.
Weird. Tony, full screen that, and let's play the video of, this is, again, Mark Epstein at the New York Fire Department, or some version of that, trying to get the pre-hospital reports from when his brother died. These are basic documents that are filled out for every incident involving EMS, the fire department, or anything.
Lower Manhattan.
Okay, but as of right now, you're telling me you can't find the PCR report?
Not for the 10th of August, 2019. No, it's not in the fire department database. I don't know why. If it's supposed to be there, we'll find out. But first, you got to get the letters of administration before you can take them anywhere.
Yeah, you see, because the date on here is the 10th of 19. That's the day they found him, they took him, and he was dead.
Well, then they might have taken him directly to the morgue. So
no, he was in the hospital. I have photographs of him in the hospital, too.
Oh, well, you didn't tell me that. I'm just going by.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just trying to explain what I know.
Yeah, well, I don't know what happened, but so far he's not in the fire department database. I don't know why.
Huh.
But they had a private unit at the scene.
And could they have taken him somewhere? Well, see, he has a photograph of the fire department personnel.
Oh.
You know, they said a private team at the scene.
Yeah.
What does
What
that
did you say? I
mean?
couldn't hear.
He said that because you see the fire department personnel there, that doesn't mean they provided documentation.
They told me they did. I spoke to them.
Yeah.
And they were the ones who suggested I get the PCR reports.
Well, they're saying one thing, but the computer is saying something else.
Yeah. Well, since I heard that with my own ears, I believe them, and I don't know why someone played with the computer and it's not there.
I'm just telling you the situation. I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying the computer's saying one thing, and the information you got from them is different.
Right. So, what the computer is saying is that it doesn't have a record of this.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Yes,
Yeah.
and I don't know why. What's going on?
Man.
It's just so obvious.
I know. Just like him getting killed, man.
Yeah, and this fire department personnel, he probably doesn't know anything.
No, he doesn't. He ain't got a clue.
Yeah.
You heard somebody in the back saying there may have been a private team on scene. What kind of private team? What is that?
I can take some guesses, but I don't want to go.
I mean, were these secret government operatives that said, hey, let's get him out of here so nobody can see what's actually been done to his body?
The cleanup crew.
Cleanup crew?
Probably the same ambulance crew that took care of Anne Heche.
Yeah, the one that jumped up after she died in a fiery crash. Jumped up out of the
they
gurney.
scooped her
Yeah.
up quick, and she tried to get away, and she was gone. You can look that up.
I mean, there's so many people out there that you look and they had committed suicide right before they had something big going on. It has, I will say this, it has gotten to a point that every time a celebrity commits suicide, you automatically see people saying, oh, well, they were about to release a movie on child trafficking. You know, it's not always true, but there are cases and instances, and it's why people feel that way, where they had something big coming out in the near future, or they were working on some project that would expose very important people, and then all of a sudden they commit suicide.
Yeah, you could talk about Walker. You could talk about Chad Bennington. You could talk about Chris Cornell. You could also talk about Anne Heche. And I saw that video where Anne Heche was in the car screaming at the top of her lungs as the car was full throttled down the road. I think they took remote access to her car and drove it. You know, that's what I think.
That's why they want you in electric cars. They can just off you.
Yeah, and she went
what
straight
you
into
think,
a tree.
You know, 20 years ago, what you said would be like, oh, man, no. But we know, I mean, we've got remote cars. We've got all of the elements that we need now.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, you can have a kill switch to turn it off, or you can have an acceleration thing where you can't control it and it just kills you, you know.
I'm trying to remember Parkland, what was Marjorie Stone, what was the name of the Parkland shooting, the school, Parkland school shooting, and see what I can't remember the name of the school. It was Marjorie Stone Douglas, maybe. Let's see. What does it say?
Marjorie Stone Douglas High School.
Okay. All right. So go with, say, Parkland shooting, victim dies in crash. And see, why does it say Birmingham?
I don't know.
Let's see. No, I don't. I remember a story of somebody that had seen something, and I wanted to say
of team killed a Parkland shooting. No,
arrested. No.
So here's why I brought that up. I remember a story, and it had to do with Parkland or some other big event that benefited Democrats, where there was a guy and a girl who were there for what happened, and they were about to be investigated by police so they could tell them what they knew about that day, and they pulled out of their driveway, and their car just careened until it hit a tree right out of their driveway, hit a tree, and exploded and killed them both. Or something crazy like that. God, I wish I could remember that story. That was wild.
Did it have anything to do with the guys bragging to the wife about how fast it was before they drove the car?
No, this was
That's a different story.
Yeah, this is a different one. I don't know. I have to look it up.
I just remember the Anne Heche video from a private person's camera from their house. It showed the car zip right past, and she's screaming in her car, and it was like she was trying to stop it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's nothing wrong. Listen, there's nothing wrong with being suspicious of suicides. Suicides are an awful thing. We all know that. Some of us may know somebody who had committed suicide. But when it comes to high-profile suicides, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, there might have been something shady going on there.
Yeah, you just look around the suicide and see, were they in a certain, well, just like you said, they're working on a project.
How about this one? Andrew Breitbart,
Mm-hmm.
healthy guy, just mysteriously dies on a walk, broad daylight, has a heart attack. Heart attack gun Willie.
Yeah, and they proved they had those heart attack guns back in the house or whatever that was, those hearings.
Not only that, but Andrew Breitbart was a healthy guy. He dies. The coroner does the autopsy,
Mm-hmm.
and right before that guy releases the autopsy, he mysteriously dies.
What a coincidence.
And then they get somebody else to do the autopsy, which they're like, it was a heart attack. Everything's completely normal here.
There always seems to be the same factors playing into these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, what a coincidence. Wow, what a coincidence. Wow, what a coincidence attached to all of these.
But because we are on top of this and we think this way, not just us, but so many people, that goes back to, I think, why they won't just off Donald Trump. Why they won't just get rid of him. Because think of how many problems would that solve if they could do that? It would solve all their problems.
Their biggest dreams would be a real nutcase to actually do it instead of some plant.
Right.
Like
you think
Lee
they'd
Harvey
be,
Oswald.
if somebody got off their rocker and went and did that, you think they would be sad? You think they'd have kind words to say about Donald Trump after his passing? Of course not. They'd be elated. You know good and well, MSNBC and CNN, we'd have clips the next day of them giggling and being giddy over the fact that Trump died.
Yeah, and you've got to think what would happen to the supporters. Would they just grumble and sit back, or would we really see something?
That's the question.
And I think that's the X factor that they don't know.
Yeah.
They can't figure out.
Yeah, the unknown of that is also what's keeping them
I think
from.
so.
Man,
Could you imagine not having like Elon Musk right now and all the he's like my hero.
Oh, it'd be done for. We'd be done for. There would be no way for people to openly communicate about what's really going on. Yep. And I hope, and I don't have any way of knowing whether or not this has happened, but I hope the change at Twitter has woken some people up to the ideas that we're talking about, in the sense of being skeptical and saying that, yeah, it is possible that it's different than what people have told me, that it's different than what the news or Hollywood or the music industry's told me. Maybe they're not being level with me. Maybe there is some different things going on.
No pun intended. Elon Musk was the X factor. If he would have never bought Twitter and done what he did, it would get really bad.
Yeah, no real outlet for us.
And we wouldn't have a whole lot of hope about the election in November.
Mm-hmm.
God,
yeah, because
time.
stuff's coming out a lot right now because of him.
Yeah. It may be the only place you find these Epstein logs once they come out. Everybody else may bury them. Come on, cuz.
Yeah.